Roll Tide, everyone, and welcome to Tide TV This Week, brought to you by Thompson Tractor. I'm Roger Hoover, joined by Kira Goldstein. And Kira, can you believe it? Basketball season is starting to wind down.
I know. I can't believe the regular season is almost over. They've been doing so well.
Certainly have. And the 8th-ranked Alabama men's basketball team hosted the Vanderbilt Commodores on Saturday for Senior Day.
It was a back-and-forth game early on before the visiting Commodores took the largest lead of the first half, scoring 5 consecutive points to claim a 7-point advantage at 25-18 with just under 10 minutes to go in the first half. But then a steal and a finish at the other end by Herb Jones started a 9-0 run by the Tide to retake the lead at 27-25 with just over 4 minutes to go before the half. Alabama outscored Vanderbilt 15-5 over the final 10 minutes of the first half as the Tide took a 33-29 lead into the locker room at halftime.
But Vandy didn't give up. The Commodores began the second half with a 9-1 run to retake the lead at 38-34. The Tide responded with a 15-2 run, highlighted by this thunderous dunk by Alex Reese, and Alabama off the inbound pass able to take the first double-digit lead of the contest at 10 points, 53-43 with just over 11 minutes to play. Commodores wouldn't go away just yet. Vandy would use an 18-6 run to retake the lead at 65-63 with 5:37 to play. But just a few seconds later, Alex Reese drained the three-pointer to give the Crimson Tide the lead back for good. Alabama led by as many as 7 in the final minute to play, and the Crimson Tide held on for the win, 82-78. Alabama was led by Jaden Shackelford's season-best 27 points. Javon Quinterly remained hot with 15 points and 3 assists, while Alex Reese added 10 points. Keon Ellis scored 8 and a team-high 9 rebounds for Ellis.
Saturday was a big win for the Tide as well as Senior Day. Head coach Nate Oates and the staff honored 7 seniors after the game, including Tyler Barnes, Jordan Brunner, Britton Johnson, Herb Jones, John Petty Jr., Alex Reese, and Kendall Wall.
I wish these seniors could have experienced a packed-out Coleman because they deserve it. They've worked hard to turn this thing around. It's really their team, their program, and they've done an unbelievable job getting us to the level we're at. I think we're 1 win away from clinching a regular season title. So these guys deserve it. So thank you for staying. Thank you for the noise you bring. Let's make sure we keep supporting them. And I just can't say enough about the leadership these guys have brought. So Roll Tide.
On behalf of all the seniors, the team, we just want to thank all our fans, our new coaching staff who came in and, helped us turn this program around. We just want to, thank you all, our families. We thank you all for the support, and let's make a run in the tournament.
Great moments on Senior Day, and then it was a battle of the top 2 teams in the SEC on Wednesday night in Fayetteville. Alabama had already defeated Arkansas by 31, 90-59 earlier in the season, and a win on Wednesday night would make the Crimson Tide the SEC regular season champions.
Yeah, and Alabama opened the game missing their first 9 3-point attempts as Arkansas jumped out to a 21-9 lead. However, the Tide responded, closing out the half with a 17-8 run, with Jordan Brunner scoring 12 consecutive points to cut the Razorbacks' lead to just 1 at the break, 39-38.
Alabama continued their run in the second half with an 8-0 run to take a 45-39 lead with 18 minutes to play. Arkansas responded by scoring 17 of the game's next 19 points, including holding the Tide scoreless for over 5 minutes. To take the lead for good at 56-47 with just under 10 minutes left. Arkansas would go on to shoot 25 second-half free throws compared to only 2 by Alabama, with both of those coming from a technical foul call. In all, Arkansas shot 43 free throws to just 6 for Alabama. Arkansas keeps Alabama from winning the SEC championship for at least another game, as the Razorbacks defeat the Tide in Fayetteville 81-66. Crimson Tide continue to climb in the rankings. In this week's Associated Press Poll Top 25, Alabama moved up 2 spots to number 6, their best ranking of the season and the highest since 2006. Behind the Tide from the SEC is Arkansas at 20, Missouri at 24, and Tennessee at 25.
In the coaches' top 25, Alabama moved up 2 spots this week, as well as the coaches have Alabama at number 7. The Razorbacks are the only other team in the SEC poll. The coaches have Arkansas at number 20.
It was a big week for the Alabama women's basketball team as the Tide picked up a pair of SEC wins. We'll have the details coming up next.
Tide TV This Week presented by Thompson Tractor, the exclusive provider of Caterpillar heavy equipment and genuine Cat parts for Alabama and Northwest Florida. Visit ThompsonTractor.com for more information. The University of Alabama, where legends are made. Ford, for great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide.
Welcome back to Tide TV This Week, brought to you by Thompson Tractor.
The Alabama women's basketball team currently in the hunt for an NCAA tournament berth, as the Tide was number 33 in the net rankings entering their matchup last Thursday on the road in Gainesville against the Florida Gators. Alabama outscored Florida 15-6 to open the game as the Tide led 20-17 after the first period. Alabama continued their strong play in the second, taking a 37-30 lead at the half. Crimson Tide led by as many as 17 in the second half as Alabama came away with a big win on the road as the Tide defeated the Gators in Gainesville 77-70.
Alabama's three seniors combined for 58 of the Tide's 77 points. Jasmine Walker had a team-high 22 points for her 21st consecutive game scoring in double figures. Jordan Lewis had 20 points and a game-high 5 assists, while Araya Copeland also scored in double figures as she finished with 16. Megan Abrams also had a stellar game for the Tide with 8 points, a career-high tying 9 rebounds, a career-best 5 steals, and 3 assists.
Sunday was a big day for the Crimson Tide as it was Senior Day, and Alabama welcomed Mississippi State to Coleman Coliseum.
The Crimson Tide defeated the Bulldogs 86-78 back on January 14th in Starkville when the Bulldogs were ranked 14th in the country.
Before the tip-off, Coach Curry and the staff honored the Crimson Tide's senior trio of Araya Copeland, Jordan Lewis, and Jasmine Walker. The Big Three led the Tide in scoring on the season and just about every other category. You can't stress enough about what these three mean to this Alabama program.
So true, and once the seniors were honored, it was all business on the court as Alabama led from the opening basket until the final whistle. Alabama quickly jumped out to a double-digit lead in the opening period when Jasmine Walker's three, with 2:40 to go, put Alabama up 17-5. The Crimson Tide led by as many as 15 in the opening half as the Tide held a decisive 13-point lead at the half, 38-25.
Alabama led by as many as 18 in the second half, but the Bulldogs made a late push to cut the Tide's lead to single digits. But Alabama would be just too much for Mississippi State on this day as the Tide prevailed 71-63. The win gives Alabama the season sweep over Mississippi State and their first win over the Bulldogs in Tuscaloosa since 2014. And once again, it was a big day for the seniors on Senior Day. Jasmine Walker had a game-high 20 points, the 13th time this season Walker has scored 20 or more. Araya Copeland finished with her 8th double-double of the season as she finished with 19 points and a team-high 11 rebounds. Tide's other senior, Jordan Lewis, also finished with double figures as Lewis scored 15 to give the Big Three over 50 points once again as the trio combined 54 points in the win.
The Alabama baseball team opened their season in dramatic fashion this past weekend at the Joe. If you didn't catch the games live on SEC Network Plus, you missed an incredible start to the season for the Tide. But you're in luck because we'll have all of the big moments coming up next right here on Tide TV This Week.
Tide TV This Week presented by Thompson Tractor, the exclusive provider of Caterpillar heavy equipment and genuine Cat parts for Alabama and Northwest Florida. Visit ThompsonTractor.com for more information. Ford, for great offers on F-150, see your local Ford dealer. Proud sponsor of the Crimson Tide. The University of Alabama, where legends are made.
Welcome back. It was a big weekend on the campus of the University of Alabama. There were a lot of big wins along with the Alabama baseball team opening their season here at home at the Joe.
The 25th ranked Crimson Tide opened the season with a 3-game series against McNeese.
In Game 1 on Friday, sophomore Connor Prelip got the start for the Tide. He was dominant on the mound. Prelip threw 5 scoreless innings, allowing only 4 hits while striking out 8. The outing makes it 26 scoreless innings for Prelip to begin his career. He's going to have to give up a run in his Alabama career at some point, but hopefully that's way in the future. Hasn't happened yet. At the plate, Drew Williamson led the Tide with a game-high 3 hits, along with 3 runs batted in and a run scored. Sam Prater and Peyton Wilson also homered for the Tide. The home run for Wilson was the first of his career as the Tide won on opening day 10-6.
Alabama found themselves in a hole in Game 2 on Saturday, and here come the dramatics we were telling you about earlier. Alabama down 3-1 in the 8th inning with Peyton Wilson on base. Owen Diodati crushed the pitch over the center field wall to tie the game at 3. Then in the bottom of the 9th, the game still tied 3-all. Zane Denton sent the 1-2 pitch over the right field wall for the game-winning home run. Down 3-0 after 3, the Crimson Tide made the comeback, scoring all 4 runs in the final 3 innings for the 4-3 walk-off win.
Happy birthday, Zane Denton, and then going for the sweep in the rubber match on Sunday. Tide's offense was powered by the long ball once again, as the Tide belted 3 home runs on the day. With the game tied at 1 in the bottom of the 4th, Drew Williamson launched the first home run of the day for Alabama. The solo shot made it 2-1 Crimson Tide. With McNeese up 4-3 in the next inning, it was Zane Denton for the second day in a row. Denton homering. This one to left field with a man on gave the lead back to Alabama at 5-4. Then to add a little insurance in the next inning, the bottom of the 6th, Owen Diodati homered for the second day in a row as well. With the bases loaded, Diodati sent the pitch back over the left field wall for the grand slam. Everyone comes home on this one as Diodati's grand slam gave the Crimson Tide the 9-4 lead. Brock Guffey came on in the 8th to close out the game for the Tide and pick up the save as Alabama got the 9-5 win in Game 3 and also the series sweep over the Cowboys to begin the year.
Alabama kept the long ball going on Tuesday night against Jacksonville State as Peyton Wilson and Sam Prater homered to give the Crimson Tide the 5-2 win on the road in Jacksonville.
On Wednesday, the Crimson Tide dropped their first game of the season. Despite leading 3-0 in the bottom of the 4th inning, UT Martin outscored Alabama 9-1 after that for the 9-4 win.
Alabama is still 4-1, though the Tide moved up 3 spots in this week's Baseball America Top 25. Alabama is now ranked 22nd in the country.
The Alabama softball team also in action this weekend at Rhodes Stadium. Alabama hosted Liberty and LSU for the Easton Bama Bash. Crimson Tide opened the tournament with 2 wins over Liberty, a 6-3 win on Friday night and an 8-1 win on Saturday.
That left 2 matchups remaining against the 8th-ranked LSU Tigers. In the Tide's second game on Saturday, Bailey Dowling put Alabama on the board in the opening inning. Dowling ripped a double down the left field line to score Bailey Hemphill. Kaylee Tao would be thrown out at the plate to end the inning, but that put Alabama up 1-0. With Alabama up 3-2, the Tide added a pair of insurance runs in the 5th and 6th innings. Lexi Kilfoyle went the distance on the mound, allowing just 1 earned run as she earned the complete game win to improve to 4-0 on the year, as Alabama defeated 8th-ranked LSU 5-2.
Going for the tournament sweep on Sunday with a score tied at 1 in the bottom of the 1st, Bailey Dowling blasted a 2-run homer over the center field wall to give Bama the 3-1 lead. With the score tied at 5, Alabama scored 4 more runs in the bottom of the 4th, 2 more in the 5th to make it 11-5. Needing 2 more for the run rule victory, freshman Bailey Dowling supplied them. Dowling's 2-run double to right field scored 2 as 5th-ranked Alabama closed out the Easton Bama Bash, sweeping all 4 games with the 13-5 run rule victory over 8th-ranked LSU. Alabama also picked up a big win on Wednesday at home as the Tide defeated UAB 7-1.
And Patrick Murphy's squad moved up 3 spots in this week's ESPN.com USA Softball Collegiate Top 25. The Tide is currently 3rd in the nation behind number 1 UCLA and 2nd-ranked Oklahoma.
Could the Alabama gymnastics team improve off last week's season-high score for their annual Power of Pink meet? Could the best all-around performance since 2004 help the Tide upset 2nd-ranked LSU? We'll let you know coming up next. Welcome back to TideTV This Week, brought to you by Thompson Tractor. A week after posting its season-best score on the road at Georgia, the 6th-ranked Alabama gymnastics team that blew past that mark, and also at number 2 LSU in the Tide's annual Power of Pink meet.
Kaylee Quinn won vault with a career-best 9.95. Luisa Blanco won the uneven bars with a 9.95, and she also took first on beam with a 9.975. Blanco and Lexi Graber closed out the meet on the floor exercise, tying for the top spot with 9.975. Those scores were also career bests for Blanco and Graber. Blanco won the all-around with the third highest score in program history, as she finished with an incredible 39.825. It was the best score of the season for the Tide as they rolled over the second-ranked LSU Tigers 197.725 to 197.325.
The Alabama's women's swimming and diving team finished the SEC championships with their best finish since 2003. The Tide women finished in fourth place with 973 points. Ryan White led the Crimson Tide with 3 gold medals, winning the 200 backstroke, 100 butterfly, and 100 backstroke events. White was also part of the group that broke the Crimson Tide record and earned Alabama their first relay title since 1985. White was also named the SEC Women's Swimmer of the Meet.
In all, Alabama won 8 gold medals, including 3 relay and 5 individual titles, tying the 1985 team for the most titles at a single championship.
Well, the Alabama women's golf team was in action this week as Coach Mick Potter's squad traveled to Gainesville to take part in the Lady Gator Invitational. Crimson Tide shot their lowest round of the tournament at 5 over par 285 on the final day, climbing 2 spots to finish third behind Ole Miss and Florida. Benedetta Moresco led Alabama as she shot an even par 210 to finish 5th overall. The Crimson Tide will return to action March 1st through the 3rd for South Carolina's Gamecock Intercollegiate in Columbia.
The Alabama soccer team kicked off the spring portion of their schedule with a 2-0 shutout win over Columbia. Goalkeeper McKinley Crone earned her second shutout of the season. Macy Clem scored the first goal for the Tide off of a corner kick by Kat Rogers. Less than 10 minutes later, Felicia Knox netted the Tide's second goal through a penalty kick. The win improves the Crimson Tide to 3-5 on the year.
Stay with us. We'll have our plays and players of the week coming up in just 90 seconds.
One, two. Line toward right field, coming on, making the grab. The throw to the plate is in time. He got it. Hammer, deep right field. Going, and we're all gone. Walk off, home run. What a comeback by the Crimson Tide.
Inside, and there is a tomahawk slam by Alex Reese.
Dowling with a line drive to right. That's down the base hit. One run will score. Here comes Town. There's the ball game. Alabama wins. Phelps that one toward left field. It is up. It is out of here. Second consecutive day. And it is over the wall for a grand slam home run. And Alabama may just have enough to get a sweep of McNeese today.
Welcome back. Those are our ATI Plays of the Week. Now let's take a look at our Players of the Week, brought to you by Payless Drugs.
Kaylee Tell led the Alabama softball team to an undefeated weekend in the Easton Bama Bash as she hit a ridiculous 786 in the 4 games. In the weekend finale against the Tigers, she scored 3 times and drove in a career-best 5 runs. For her efforts, she was named the Easton Bama Bash MVP, the SEC Softball Player of the Week, and the Louisville Slugger NFCA National Player of the Week.
Ryan White led the Alabama women's swimming and diving team to their best finish since 1985 with 3 gold medals, winning the 200 backstroke, 100 butterfly, and 100 backstroke events. White was also part of the group that broke the Crimson Tide relay record and earned Alabama their first relay title since 1985. White was co-winner of the Commissioner's Trophy, which is presented to the student athletes who score the most individual points at the championships, and was also named the SEC Women's Swimmer of the Meet.
Luisa Blanco won the all-around with a 39.825, the 3rd highest all-around score in program history. An Alabama gymnastics win over second-ranked LSU. Blanco posted career-best scores and won all 4 events, including the all-around.
Zane Denton and Owen Diodati combined for 4 home runs, 8 runs scored, and 11 RBIs in the weekend sweep of McNeese. Denton hit the game-winning walk-off home run in Saturday's Game 2, and Diodati's 2-run home run in Game 2 evened the score at 3 apiece, and he followed that up with a grand slam in Game 3 on Sunday that secured the series sweep for the Crimson Tide. And those are our Payless Drugs Players of the Week. Thanks for watching another week of Tide TV this week. We hope to see you next week. Roll Tide.
See you next week. Roll Tide, everybody.
This has been a presentation from Learfield IMG College.